What is going on, investors? My name is Tyler. Welcome back to the channel. So Lucid Motors, that is what we are talking about in today's video. Obviously, you guys can see that from the title and the thumbnail. We are looking at the potential for a gamma squeeze within the next 2 weeks. That is a huge probability of actually seeing this gamma squeeze. We will go over why that is a probability. Also go over my position because I have $9,000 worth of Lucid Motors, by far my largest position. So we're going to go over my position in Lucid Motors. We're going to start covering Lucid Motors a lot more on this channel, but there is a lot of things that have changed over the past couple weeks since the last Lucid Motors update that we have to talk about, that is very important for the business itself. So drop that like on the video, consider subscribing to the channel, turn on that notification bell so you guys will be notified when these videos are uploaded, and let's get straight into it. So first and foremost, we have seen this big drop, right? We all seen this big drop. We were down about 25% at the lowest point. This was, what was the date? The 1st, September 1st. This was the lockup period where a lot of big time money that got into this stock at about $15 were able to sell some of their shares. They were up about 45% before this big drop. So obviously there was some profit taking, but people have came in and bought the dip again. We didn't go under $15, which is a great sign. We stayed at $16.12 was the lowest point, and then we pretty much bounced up throughout the remainder of that day. We did close down about 10% for the day, 10.87% for the day, with huge volume, about 150 million for volume. The next couple of days, we've seen about 40 million for volume the day after, and then we did see 25 million in volume for Friday, going up every single day since then, about 5% every single day. So definitely a good sign to see people buying the dip on Lucid Motors. Now we're going to have to break above $20, which I do think is going to be pretty easy, especially once we get to the option chain and the gamma squeeze that I do see coming. It's going to be pretty obvious that we're going to break above $20. After that, watch for the 200-day moving average, which is currently at about $22, $21.91 to be exact. We're going to have to break above that. That may be some resistance, and then ultimately $22.60. Once we break above that, we will get back to this consolidation range that we did see for a while, because $22.60 was a support level time and time again. Once we did gap up from that, that was on June 2nd. We did bounce right here, right here, right here, right here, a couple times right here, and then we did sink under that, bounce back up, and then did start to sell off yet again, getting close to this lockup period. So I do think that is a huge risk that is off the table because this lockup period has expired. It's not something you're going to be seeing hitting the stock over and over and over again. So I do think overall very, very bullish where we do sit from the technicals and this whole lockup situation. Now let's get into what has actually changed with Lucid Motors. Now, Lucid did announce a couple days ago that they will have this event to basically go over their final review of the Lucid Airs. That is on September 27th. And they also did complete a 445-mile trip from Los Angeles to San Francisco at highway speeds during the Motor Trend Review, which confirms Lucid's high expectations for travel mileage per charge. So that was a huge step in the right direction to actually confirm this. No longer a rumor that they will have the largest range per 20-minute charge of their battery. So definitely steps into the right direction. That is probably a reason why a lot of people did start to buy the stock. But something that is waning on the stock as well is, let me bring you to this article. It says investors need results rather than ambitious goals before they buy Lucid Motors. So once Lucid Motors does start to actually deliver on their vehicles to make some revenue, as we do know, they have over, since the last time they gave us an update, over 11,000 pre-orders worth well over $1 billion. They also have over $4 billion in reserves in their vault. So overall, we're looking at the potential to have well over $1 billion worth of sales for their vehicle by the end of this year. They have confirmed that over and over and over again. So I do think they are legit on that. I don't expect this to be a Lordstown Motors situation, right, where they say all of these things and then never actually come to fruition on any of them. I don't think Lucid Motors is the case, but I think a lot of investors are waiting to see them actually start delivering vehicles, since there has been so many recent companies that have put out fraudulent statements. There's so many of them. I don't want to get into the whole situation, but there's a lot of companies that have said things and then completely not even been on track to do any of those things. Lucid Motors, that was the case in the beginning of the company when they did actually go for go for their SPAC. They did say they were going to deliver 6,000 vehicles in 2021. That number they then revised about 2 hours after they announced they were actually going public with Churchill Capital, revised that down to 557 vehicles for 2021. So nevertheless, investors have kind of shrugged that off. I don't think that is a big deal at this point, as long as they can start delivering vehicles. Now, once that does happen, I do expect just the announcement of the first deliveries going out for Lucid Airs, we're going to see an exponential price increase in the stock. They have had a lot of validations for their cars, and I do expect there to be some small issues, probably like a lot of startup car companies do have, but no major issues. That is kind of what I'm expecting, and I do think you're going to see that big pop once we do get a delivery announcement. So I am most certainly setting up for that. This is a long-term investment for me. I could see Lucid Motors as something of the future. People have seen the vehicle also in real life at some of their studios, and they have had very positive things to say about Lucid Motors. Now, especially once they get down to their $69,000 car, it's going to be much more affordable. They're going to have some form of payment option. So I think that's going to really broaden Lucid's horizons to effectively capture as much of the market share as possible in electric vehicles. Now, this article does go on to say that there's not too much room for error, which I do agree with, but he does go on to say that it is kind of late to get into electric vehicles, and I don't think that is the case. I think we are at the doorstep of the beginning of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles only account for about 2% of all vehicles sold every single year. In the next 10 years, by 2035, there will not be a single vehicle that is actually a gas sold vehicle coming off the lines, right? So they're all going to be electric vehicles by 2035, hopefully sooner than that, with the tax credits and everything that the government is doing to try to initiate electric vehicles. So I do think you are at the doorstep of electric vehicles. There's plenty of room for people to get into this space, and I think Lucid Motors is going to be primed to take a lot of this market share. Now, let's get into the Ortex data, and then let's go over the short squeeze or the gamma squeeze potential. There actually is a short squeeze potential as well. We will talk about that right now. So the short interest percentage of free float is only 7.55%, which is not particularly high. Anything under 10% is not very high. 10% is typically categorized as pessimistic. So this is actually a bullish thing that not a lot of people actually want to short the stock. Even if they did want to, though, the share utilization is at 99.87%. So this stock is very hard to actually get your hands on shares to sell short. Now we see the free float on loan at 10.71%. So that is essentially how high the short interest could go if all of the shares held in hedge funds, institutions, brokerage, or market makers accounts were sold short into the open market. And this number has went up 7 days ago, over 1.3%. So I do expect the short interest to go up a little bit. But why I say a short squeeze is possible is because the shorted shares are 40.93 million, and relative to the volume that we see on any given day, usually, at the lower end was about 5 to 10 million. Now we have seen the volume, like I said, at about 40 million and then 25 million on Friday. So for almost 41 million for volume, that is over, 1-to-1 ratio with the average volume, or almost, multiple times the daily average volume that we have seen for a long time in just shorted shares of the company. So if you see even 5 million of these shares being returned in any given day, or shorts covering 5 million shares, you're going to see a decent pop in Lucid Motors. You're also going to see those FOMO buyers, those day traders start to come in, and also hedge funds and institutions are probably buying up the stock because it is at such a big discount right now, in my personal opinion. Now, let's get into this gamma squeeze situation. So we're not really looking at the potential for a gamma squeeze next week. You're only seeing about 5,500 at the $20 strike. And this $20 strike is going to be very important because obviously we have to go over that to get to these higher open interest amounts, which is at the $23.50. You're looking at 5,000, 6,000 for open interest at the $23 strike, 4,500 at the $21 strike, and about 1,000 at all of these other strikes. So I don't think you're really looking at a significant chance for a gamma squeeze next week, but September 17th, you're seeing a lot of activity on the option chain. The $20 strike is 22,247 for open interest, which controls about 2.2 million shares. Think back to the relative volume that we see on any given day with Lucid Motors. That is a large amount. $20 is only about 40 cents out the money. So Definitely looking at a lot of potential hedging that you're going to see from the market makers. Now, at the 2250, you're seeing almost 12,000 for open interest, and at the 24, you're looking at 6,700. At the $25 strike, you're looking at 17,051 for open interest. So you're seeing a lot of open interest relatively close to the money. So you do have a high likelihood of actually seeing a gamma squeeze coming September 17th. Now, let's get into my position. And just before I show you guys my position, I do not recommend anybody do this, especially if you are newer in the markets and you have emotions when you are investing. Do not do this. I repeat, do not do this. I have really mastered my emotions when it comes down to it, so I can do this. And Lucid Motors is not a risk-free stock. There's a lot of risk associated with Lucid Motors, especially until they start delivering vehicles, and there is really a lot of demand. People just keep purchasing vehicles. Until then, Lucid Motors will be a risky stock, but I personally think it is worth the gamble. Now, when I do say that, other parts of my portfolio are pretty safe. I play a relatively safe portfolio. Besides a couple positions. Obviously, I've been moving a lot of money into Lucid Motors. I have about tripled my position during this last sell-off because I can emotionally afford to do that. So let's get into my position. Market value currently of $5,823. I'm down $613 or 9.53%. My average cost is $21.43. I now have 300 shares. Portfolio diversity, get ready for this, 16.85%. That is a very high portfolio diversity. Now, that only controls about $6,500 worth of positioning in Lucid Motors stock, but I do have a 2250 call for January 20th, 2023. I bought this at $700, so I am up $33 on this contract. I really plan to hold this for a long time. I think that could, bring some good fruits, right? Thousands of dollars potentially by 2023 if they meet their expectations. So I do think that's a good deal. I pretty much bought it on the dip when Lucid was about $17 per share. Also, I do have an October 15th Lucid 1750 put. I did sell this, so I put up $1,750, agreeing to buy 100 shares of Lucid Motors at $17.50 per share by October 15th if Lucid Motors is under $17.50 per share by this expiration date. But I did collect $137 by doing this, so my actual cost on 100 shares would be $16.13. Now, this is a great way to actually potentially collect free money, but also buy a stock that you think is undervalued or cheap at an even cheaper price. But the only downside is you have to put up this collateral for your position, and that is, like I said, $1,750. Whatever strike you are doing, basically times 100. So 1750 times 100, that is $1,750. All in all of these positions, if I get exercise on this 1750 put, I will control $10,000 worth of Lucid Motors. As it currently sits, I control about $7,700 of Lucid Motors. Like I said, if I get a sign on this, I will control about $9,000, $10,000 worth of Lucid Motors. So this is a very big gamble. Don't recommend anybody do this. If you are going to do this, I would highly suggest that if you have one position you have a lot of confidence in, a high level of conviction in, like I do with Lucid Motors, it is okay. Put 25% of your account in that stock, but make sure that 75% of your rest of your portfolio is in relatively safe companies, just like I've been doing. That is not a recommendation. I am not a financial advisor, not a financial planner or your dad, so don't listen to anything that is said in these videos. Take in the opinions here and come to your own conclusions. That is what learning is all about. So drop that like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that comment section. What do you guys think about my portfolio allocation in Lucid Motors? What do you think about Lucid Motors in general? What is your position size? Let me know all of that information. Like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff. Check out the links linked down below in the description. There is a link for public. You get up to $70 in your choice free stock. Sometimes it's $10, sometimes it's $65, $70. You really never know. It can't hurt you by doing it. No need to even link a bank account or deposit a single dollar to receive your free stock. So it is by definition free money. Only takes about 3 minutes time to do that. Also a link for Webull. Deposit $100, get 4 free stocks, each of them potentially worth up to $2,400 a piece. There is also a link for the buy and sell alerts just just over the past week alone, with about $400 worth of trading money, you would have made enough in profits to cover your costs for the buy and sell alerts for over 1 year's time. So definitely check that out. It pays for itself. We keep it very inexpensive, so a lot of people can afford that cost. So that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you in the next one.